Full table,
Not really related, just I'm preparing for another. Yeah, Charlie will be here.
Are we live?
Yep.
And if we're live, it's 8:15. We'll call the meeting to order. Start with the reading of the mission statement. Mission of the County of LCIDA is to stabilize, strengthen, and grow communities through strategic community partnerships, innovative incentive programs, responsible leverage of our financial resources, and thoughtful policy development to advance economic growth and a brighter and more inclusive future for all. We'll start privilege of the floor, and James Munn from Black River Valley Naturals here to give a little update on the business.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I was thinking about this on the drive in. I'm like, it's a little bit of a homecoming for me here. Familiar faces. I think it was almost 7 years ago now. I was kind of in, not this exact room, but in this forum, talking about how my wife and I wanted to do something different, and we weren't even living in the area at the time. We were out of the area, and we wanted to come back and try something different. So here we are, still here, right? Sometimes I don't know. Yeah, you came up with a name, right? Black River Valley. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll need an IOU for that. Yeah, so the reason why I'm here today is a couple of things. So we're good and bad. Let me start with the bad. So the situation with my business, unfortunately, has gotten pretty dire. And I won't go into all the details, but I would just say, sort of imminent risk of closure, unfortunately. Maybe today even. It's sort of that imminent. However, with that being said, I've been working with the IDA and others to try to change that outlook. And so we have actually a lot of good news as well that I want to share. So I do have just some information I will pass around, but I'm going to promise not to talk to slides. I think I only made like 4 copies, so hopefully that's enough. But I just want to make sure that I cover all the basics, but so you guys can kind of see the situation. So what I'm coming here today to present is what I'm calling BRVN 2.0. We have learned a lot in the past 6 or 7 years, and we have significantly changed our business model. And I'll say, starting at around, I was accepted into the St. Lawrence CDL program would have been last winter, and I graduated in the summer. And what I like about that program is it's essentially a clinic for your business. And since I knew I was struggling and I was kind of heading into some headwaters, some turbulent waters, I took the class. They walked us through my business plan. They deep dived into my financials. They gave me access to all of these mentors and coaches and professionals. And we came up with what I know is going to be the winning plan for this business. A lot of reflection, a lot of lessons learned, and just to summarize for the team, essentially what the big eye-opener for me was, we're trying to create a premium food brand in an area that doesn't necessarily want to pay for a premium food brand. So the big switch for me was I had to get out of this mindset of wanting to be a local brand, and I had to instead embrace the fact that I have to go to where the money is, essentially. I have to go to where the people will pay a premium for that. So once we sort of made that mental switch, everything else kind of snapped into place. So I'm happy to say that as of today, we have identified over a $10 million pipeline, over 1,500 leads in the New York State area. We've opened up 5 distribution channels now, working with regional distributors throughout the state that all specialize in specialty foods, natural foods, so the exact kind of markets that we want to be in. And so even in the last 2 months, we've brought on over 20 new wholesale accounts that and upsold 4 accounts, meaning like we've existing customers that have brought on additional product lines for us. That basically account for about a little over 1% of that pipe converting. So we're extremely optimistic that this new approach, it will work. It's just taken a little while to get the flywheel moving, but we did 3 months ago, we did add 3 outside commissioned sales reps to the team. And we brought in a sales consultant about a month ago, and that has really helped us get this into, you know, high gear. And you know, just to quote the sales consultant that was working with me, he's been having incredible luck converting leads, and he was saying to me that it's not your products. Your products are great. People love your products. It's just you got to go to the right place, and that was been the big eye opener. So just to quickly hit some of these slides, the first one really is just kind of our history, you know, kind of how we started. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the business, we haven't stagnated, right? So when we run into a challenge, we try new things, right? And I think, you know, after the initial startup and production ramp, we got into the pandemic era there where we knew we were going to be in, you know, heading into some turbulent times. So we tried a bunch of stuff. We acquired the North Star Food Hub to help expand our distribution. We opened up a retail establishment, launched a non-dairy line. We even focused on direct to consumer sales through our online sales platform. We're like, all right, let's try this, right? Well, fast forward, well, that didn't work. So we had to discontinue the Food Hub. And the problem with the Food Hub really was just, there's already so many other distributors out there that are doing it so much better than us. And to focus exclusively on the North Country, it's just such a huge region, so many miles, thousands of miles a week we were putting on our trucks just to deliver, you know, a loaf of bread from made in Potsdam to someplace in Albany. It just wasn't feasible. So we had to kind of stop that. The retail store, I think, could have been good if we had just kind of kept working on it, but we decided in the end of 2023 to just consolidate and to get rid of all the distractions, go back to our core business and really just focus on the dairy. And that's where you see here in the strategic refocusing that we implemented in 2024. That's that class I took, that's the consultants I worked with. They paired me up with Mary Jean Remington, of all people, who is just a fantastic mentor, and she's been coaching me through this whole thing. I have her on speed dial. We talk almost weekly. The change in the business model from really focusing on B2B, not even worrying about retail, direct to consumer, just really amping up our B2B sales channels. It's a very different, for those of you who don't know, right? B2B sales is very different than B2C, and everything, the marketing's different, you know, everything is just so different. And where B2B is very much hands-on. You need to be there. You need to go to the stores. You need to drop off samples. You need to make those relationships, right, with the stores. So it's just a very different model, but it's been really good. And so going into 2025, our real focus now is to elevate the business into a true CPG brand that represents the best of Lewis County in the North Country. And you know, and I will say too that we've transitioned to being, oh, we're just an ag business. Well, no, we're not an ag business. We are a consumer packaged goods business. It's not, yes, we're dairy, but it's the similarities and there. We have spent a lot of time defining our mission, our vision, our core values, and we really stick to these 3 principles. I won't dwell too long on this, but just so you guys know, right, it's real food. We focus on simplicity, craftsmanship, and providing that transparency. Community involvement, commitment is huge. We've donated tens of thousands of dollars of product to just the Louisville Food Pantry alone. since we started. We also support other food pantries, support Lions Falls, like several others, so, Boonville. So we do try to really, and then, you know, that's not the only thing, right? We work with local farmers, we support soccer teams, I mean, everything we can do, right, to help with the community. And then, of course, the real difference for us is really about the innovation, environmental stewardship, and, you know, the high standards in what we do. The next slide is really just, I just want to give you just a snapshot of the analysis we went through as part of this clinic. I won't go through this word for word, but just so you know, we spent a lot of time analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of our business, and what opportunities there are in the future. And we do have a lot. I mean, we have a working food processing facility. We have distribution. We have staff, trained and reliable staff. Finally, we have a solid base of about very seasonally, but about 70 wholesale accounts. I mean, we have a lot to show for the work and the money we put into this business. We just got to get over the hump here. The last slide, or the next slide, really is I wanted to share, just kind of give you a, yeah,
Sorry, I just wanted to just think that we are live here.
Yep.
So just I was looking at your numbers and your slides, so
Yeah, I will
keep that.
I will, yeah.
Thank you with what you feel appropriate this year.
I appreciate that. I certainly leave that for the folks that are in this room, but so we have I'm really proud of the fact that we have we've established a $10 million sales pipeline. What does that really mean? Well, we've got 330 active leads that those are qualified leads that we're actively trying to close deals with. And we have we've worked with the FDA and the SBDC to identify another 1,500 leads in the specific markets that we want to be in. So we have a pipeline. That's the first step, right? You have to know you have an opportunity. I mentioned our regional distributors. We've opened up conversations with several distributors, and we're doing business with 2 of them directly right now. And the others are kind of in various stages of onboarding us. The winter season makes it very hard to move forward with some of these guys. We have the commissioned outside sales team that I mentioned. We have a comprehensive go-to-market plan now that we have that's B2B focused that we didn't have before. That's been really eye-opening and enlightening for me. That go-to-market plan includes things like our sales kits, manufacturer incentives, customer incentives, customer loyalty agreements, volume rebate programs. Like we've established, our toolbox has significantly expanded on what we can offer our customers. Sell sheets, shelf talkers, the list goes on and on. And what you can see here on the right is really just our focus on, we have our current customers within a 60-mile radius that we will continue to support and try to grow that business. But as you all know, that's a really challenged market. We have our co-manufacturing that we will continue to do. We support actually we have someone at the plant right now doing a tour that's interested in co-manufacturing. So we do have an active co-manufacturing pipeline, which is not even included in that $10 million number I gave you. So these are people looking to private label or just looking for manufacturer produced products for them. We have relationships developing with several convenience store chains now. We're in 10 Stewart stores now and growing, so that's been really good for us. Onboarding our regional distributors through our B2B2C program. And then, of course, we're focused primarily on New York State right now, but the growth is beyond that to an entire Northeast expansion. So that's sort of that's in our 10-year plan. And the next slide is really kind of what I wanted to just highlight. So you saw the timeline. You saw kind of the ups and downs we went through to get here. Well, this is the result. So as we've kind of struggled a little bit to find our way, we've just accumulated a lot of debt. Now, this is the part that is really kind of currently challenging us because this debt service now is consuming all available cash. And a lot of this debt is what I would call retail debt, very aggressive, I mean, extremely high interest rates, super aggressive terms. But it's, you know, when you get to a certain point, it's like kind of all you can qualify for. So it's really, you know, getting to a situation where we just have to do something. You know, why are we here? Well, I mentioned the previously high overhead. We've now reduced that. At one point we had, what did I have in here? You know, over, 14 full-time equivalent employees. And that was just absolutely brutal, for our overhead. A retail market, the North Star Food Hub losses, that the Food Hub, we probably carried it on about a year longer than we should have, right? Because we were really trying to make it work. And we accumulated some losses there in debt to, as a result. Very focused on the local market, too focused, right? We need to expand our visibility, which we're doing. So that of course led to the no ability to really invest in sales and marketing, and we're now seeing that. No investment in operational efficiencies. We've been essentially throwing labor at our production, right? So instead of investing in automated packaging equipment and things that can help scale us, we've instead just been bringing in more people and doing more manual processes, which is not sustainable, right? It doesn't help your margins. And then of course, all this results in some stagnation. So this is really kind of the main point I want to make here. So what we're calling BRBN 2.0 is really a stabilization and stability plan. And that's focused in these three key areas. The first one is sales and marketing. We now know what to do. We got to increase our investment in outside B2B sales, but then of course transition those people to full-time staff. It's not our goal to use outside sales, but we know that right now that's the fastest way to get up and running, and execute our go-to-market plan. With the goal of adding 1.5 full-time equivalent folks there at the end of that investment. The second is, so that's top line revenue growth, right? First prong, grow the top line. Second prong here, invest in operational efficiencies. We need to do more with the staff we have and potentially add a few more. So this is like focusing on automation, filling equipment, weigh baggers, extruders, things that we're currently doing manually now that are really kind of bottlenecks in our production line. And unfortunately, adding additional employees gets us into an unsustainable position right now with our current volumes. So we have to do this intelligently. And then, of course, the last part here is our debt restructuring, which I'm happy to say we've already secured a portion of this, and we are looking to try to fill the rest of it. Because right now we're currently spending about $12,000 a month in debt service. Consolidation and more favorable terms, we feel like just based on some projections could free up $4,000 to $5,000 a month alone. And then of course that cash could be used to reinvest in the business to fund these other two initiatives. So that's why I'm here. This is our plan. And my ask today is to help me to realize at least a portion of this. I've reached out to the AEDC, NCA, DANK, and of course, naturally Lewis. And, you know, we're in the process of building this sort of coalition of folks to help. So it's not all on, you know, I'm not looking for support from just one organization. I've also applied to be matched with an SBA lender. The $100K that I've already secured is through the NCA. And we're in the process of closing on that finally after about a year process. So, so this is the situation. My ask is for anything we could do to help here. And, you know, we've been working with Cheyenne and Brittany on kind of brainstorming, coming up with creative solutions. There's both tactical and strategic needs here, as you can see. And I'm really open to any suggestions or help that the board could offer. So I'll pause there and for questions or comments.
If I may ask, in looking at from a construction standpoint, what would you say is I know this is wonderful, but if there's one thing, right, that stands in the way of the other things working, what would you say that is? Is that your debt?
It's the debt restructuring.
Yeah.
I think that's just consuming everything.
And as I look at the numbers, just alone, the 100,000 that you secured should easily free up $4,000 to $5,000, which is great.
Yes,
Which it needs
it
to
actually
happen,
will,
right?
yes. Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm. Well, actually, that loan is very specific to cover one of the specific debts on here, so I have to be careful, but it will free up about
Because-
2,000.
yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
at these things at like the smallest ones are the ones who are making the biggest payments. It's
That's right.
crazy.
It's
It
ridiculous.
makes no sense at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What's the closing timeframe on NTA?
just waiting on some paperwork to be signed by our friends, right, the Bellers, yeah, and then hopefully that can close quickly.
Issue with that or just?
I don't think there's an issue, I think it's just delays, but it is a real estate loan, so it will take some time, right, to go through, where we basically refinancing the mill site. To secure that loan.
I kind of feel the need to make a comment that is one of the couple of people that were in the room at that first meeting. I think, you know, what James and his family and staff have been able to do is pretty amazing given the circumstances and, you know, despite the challenges and, you know, frankly, I think probably we were all a little too altruistic about the vision going into this versus business reality. And I shoulder some of the blame for that. I think our group shoulders some of the blame for that. James, you know, had a really community forward vision. The North Star Food Hub was an absolute disaster that they tried to bail out our community on. That ended up costing them a lot. That was, in my view, something that was essentially a favor to a system that wasn't working to begin with. The pandemic, you know, our local foods people were hailed as heroes during the pandemic, and then as soon as it was over, everyone went back to their old buying habits. The school milk carton shortage and Black River Valley Metro bailing out a whole bunch of local school districts that I'm sure cost you money. It wasn't a money maker. And then as soon as the cardboard cartons were back in stock, you know, everyone went back to the cheapest alternative again. So I think, you know, I think it's such a like living lesson of the need for local food and why we have these different initiatives and people talking about food security and the threats to our food system and the need for local manufacturers, local foods in that system. All of it highlights it, and all of it also highlights how as a broader community, we're not supporting that unless it's an emergency. And that's not sustainable for anyone. So, I mean, it is business. I mean, we all have to, each group has to make its decision, but I feel like this is a really a case study, good or bad, and in this whole initiative that everyone in this country talks about, and that there's some responsibility, not just from our group, but from Lewis County to continue to support business that has bailed out the county on multiple occasions and came into this with a vision that was to help one of the biggest industries in America. Thanks, John.
What is the repayment history on the loans we currently?
NBA holds an installment sale on 2 pieces of equipment. Started at about 22,000, it's down to what are we at 16. Perfect history on that.
So with these options, is there anything that we would have security on? Because it looks like sales and marketing capital, there'd be nothing to give us the security on that.
So we actually went back to James with kind of what the entities under Naturally Lewis how they could play in the whole game, and one of them is we can defer that installment sale for a few months, that's so minimal, and it's not honestly not help them that much. Sorry, James. Don't think I'll hold it down. So that one's easy, but under like a debt restructure, the IDA could participate in buying some equipment and like some larger dollar value equipment and selling it back.
Okay, you're saying us, not necessarily lend the money, but essentially purchase the assets and
Stop.
then install.
That's what we can do.
So you would have security there though.
Yeah.
Which would be way advantageous to you to do it through us than any other lender, it would make no sense.
Yeah, in fact, I've approached other lenders and, you know, it's been a challenge.
Well, I don't doubt it, but they're not going to look at either way, the communities are looking good.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, this was not my first option, no, I'll just, say that. You know, I did try to go through the commercial.
Which is great
lending
to see that you did,
tab.
yeah.
Mhm.
So right, so the LCDC can participate in terms of like a loan, a small business loan up to about 50,000, that's usually where we cap those.
Yeah.
Through the loan funds that now sit with the LCDC. And also we have the building business grant coming up where if you have equipment you need to purchase for efficiencies. You could apply for that and be awarded up to 50,000 on that. So there are different avenues we can help for sure.
And I plan to take advantage of those programs, yeah, when they become available, yeah.
And the installment loan is not like the urgent need, right? That which the IDA could assist with. LCDC as a small business loan is maybe more urgent to help with some of the debt consolidation.
Yeah, I would say to apply for that $50,000 loan, take these 33.5 in things that are costing you $40 a month.
Right.
We bring that down to $400.
Yeah, 50,000 would wipe away
Right.
some of our
Worst
most
debt.
aggressive worst
Yeah,
case debt.
and then to look at to see if you'd like to partake in an installment loan, which you could wipe out further. Because I'm
Yeah.
looking at the other farm credit, that's a huge payment.
Right.
It looks like it's a 5-year loan.
Mhm.
If you can bring that down to a quarter of it, which I don't see why we couldn't. Your cash flow would go down to 4,000.
Oh, it would be amazing, that would be transformational.
Yeah, I don't doubt
Yeah, it wouldn't take much. I know these numbers seem large here, but as you can tell, I mean, even an incremental.
Oh, I don't know.
Portion of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have a loan committee meeting scheduled yet. We're working on scheduling the loan committee meeting, coordinating those members.
For the deferment?
No, the deferment's on the agenda for today. but
Okay.
For the loan and, to get that set.
Oh, the 15,000, okay, I'm sorry.
LCDC is meeting at 10 today.
Yes.
It's the loan committee's not gonna happen, but.
So what's the deferment that James is looking for today? I remember reading it.
It's the installment sale
Okay.
that we already hold,
Okay.
the small one.
How long for?
Till the spring, maybe 3 months, something like that. Yeah.
And it helps, great, it's not.
That's our winter season.
Yeah, with
starts
the
at-
corporate record that you had, I have no problem. You could ask for a year and I
would suggest longer.
Yeah, I would suggest longer, why even?
Well, we've been through this with some of our other, businesses that we've supported, right? They've come back 3 months later and then we said, well, we'll just make this 6 months
Yeah.
and give them time. You know, I think that was appreciated.
And then there's a 2025 plan, right? Let's give you a year to do that.
Well, and see, and that's one thing I wanted to mention too, is that I am very open to coming back on a regular basis and reporting back to this committee on the progress of the 20.
Honestly, such a small one, if it helps, great, but it's not hurting the community. To give you a year to get back.
Well, thank you.
Oh, do you have any information on like some of the equipment that would improve your efficiencies, like the cost of the rotary tiller or the way back or those pieces?
I do, but I have estimates for all of those, brand new, you know, they're pretty expensive, you know, like for example, the rotary filler is about 90,000. I usually go to the used market, you can't always find exactly what you need, but you can get close sometimes. And then it's it's half that, you know, 45,000 for filler, for example. The way baggers, they're a little cheaper, they're below 20 typically.
Well, like with this equipment, where's your biggest bottleneck? Where, like, what would improve your efficiency the most?
I would like to invest the filler, the rotary filler, that's for yogurt, which is our highest margin product, and right now we're, it's our, the filling is our pinch point. So I like to use this as an example. If I buy a gallon of raw milk delivered for $2.25, I can turn that into, I can either retail that or wholesale that for a gallon jug for $4.25 or whatever, right? Or I can, turn that into a pound of cheese curd and make $9, $10 off of it. Or I can sell 4 quarts of yogurt and make 12. So take a $2.25 investment and turn it into $12. So the yogurt's really the higher margin product, and right now we're pinched on we can't, it's a very manual process to fill those cups, I'll say that. So the rotary filler would not only help with filling efficiencies, but it's also more sanitary. It puts the foil seals on, it helps with shelf life, which makes our customers happy, so it's just all around smart, yeah, and we actually have this week's.
Whatever sort, I think your products, on the short costs go up, are about to become much more competitive with the rest of the stuff,
Right.
What's coming up.
We've seen that for sure.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some modest increases in our prices, but they're right now, they're the same as, the stuff you get from the bigger branches, and bigger businesses. Yeah, we have quite a loyal following in Syracuse now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal. We're in 5 or 6 stores now in that area.
And they're growing, the micron coming in.
That's right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a huge movement of natural quick food.
Yes.
I know it's not competitive with garbage that's out there, but it's not.
Yeah. Any other questions for me or comments?
Thank you for coming in, James.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for letting me sit on your meeting and sorry if I went over on my time.
No,
But I appreciate it. Please, hold on to those. That is confidential, so I'd ask you to just kind of keep that. Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And what I'll do too is, I'll just connect with Cheyenne
Give me an update.
on next steps. Great. Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, James.
Mentioned I gotta run to a work commitment, so I'm gonna take over the show. Happy New Year, everyone.
For the minutes for the last meeting, please. Just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to look at those. Any questions, concerns? I'll take a motion to have those approved. Yeah. Sorry. Jerry, or financials. Am I bringing up any, this is on me. What are our other assets? Can you please put them in parentheses in front of it?
I asked
It's-
her what they are because I don't know. how
Yeah,
to
no, I've
express
been
that.
told it there, and I can't remember what.
And she told me and I'm like, my brain is melting.
It is.
Please step in. and help me out.
150 is here, it's terrible.
Our other stuff.
Yeah, on the next sheet.
Oh, that's mostly,
What is that, by the way?
you asked for everything.
I know, somebody put it in parentheses, please.
That's mostly the, no, I'm gonna blank for a second.
Oh, okay,
Get there.
I do know.
This is really, yeah, like,
Give me a second.
what's Odin Environmental?
That was, sorry, we do that. That was the, for our building, so
Yeah.
I'm coming and assessing all of the poop.
Oh, got it.
Okay. In layman's terms.
They're there today now, assessing them. That's.
It's other assets, things that we own for like, read or something like that.
No, it's something really simple that I just can't. See. It's right there.
You're not.
Just made fun of me, now.
This is what happens when you do financials for 4 organizations.
I don't know.
But I can break that line out.
That might be helpful.
Oh, okay.
Right now, it really
Okay.
isn't, when it's broken out, I still don't know what it is, which is
Okay.
why,
All right, that's fine.
But
We
maybe we
can
can-
keep going,
Yeah,
sorry.
we'll round it out.
any other questions on that?
No, I don't, does anybody else on the financials? Can I get a motion, do we need a motion for that, right, to approve? Kenzie? Second, Jerry? I'm assuming, one question, sorry, this was before we did the CD.
Correct, so
Correct,
these
as
were
I
done
saw
at the very beginning,
Yeah,
just.
that's what I figured, right?
The other assets are mostly the pilot fee installments that we will get over the next couple
Future
years.
pilots,
Yeah.
yes, that's right, that's right. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We have an approval from Jerry and Mackenzie. The staff services agreement, that was a long one to read, I just looked at the changes. All of that notes, right, It-
So Candace was able to provide a little bit of feedback, thank you, I just uploaded the new version. There was only one change. So as you all recall, we've had extensive conversation about the staff service agreement, given our comptroller's audit and how we are justifying our fee to include this. Is it this one or no? There were two. You should be able, I deleted one, so refresh the folder maybe. I don't know, try, go back to one, scroll down. Oh, that one here. So Candace, you put in this comment, right?
Right, so I wanted to delete the highlighted portion that you put in.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna create us a problem to then have a separate lease
Okay,
for those
Yeah.
items, so if we just say this agreement covers the use of office furniture and technology. That's,
perfect,
that way it's kind of built into that service fee,
yeah,
so that way we don't have to do a separate lease for $1 and then show $1 going into the account. I thought that would be a little bit easier to cover that.
Yeah.
And then once everything's, the life of it goes away. That way you don't have to worry about one gifting, which you can't.
Right. So this refers to all of the IDA owned assets in the office, and we can't just sell it to Naturally Lewis because we have to do appraisals for our policy, and we don't want to do that. So covering the use of IDA owned furniture, technology in this. agreement.
So I would delete the highlight.
Okay.
Like that, and if that's a great,
Yeah,
some of them I want to say, well, where's the lease? Is that lease for fair market value? Where's that $1 transaction? Right.
yeah. So then scroll down, Trish and I worked to come up with a fee based on that.
which is now also going to be assessed quarterly, right, rather than, so it's not paid up ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a recommendation for the auditor. So we broke it out into the three.
I did add, if you go up, I also added that including being available on a daily basis for the administrative staff support, because we had talked about the fact that we want a butt in a seat to be able to do that, so I thought that that language, including, administrative staff, including being there on a daily basis.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
None of those things said that.
Yeah.
A lot of them were just very project specific,
Mhm.
so I thought that would encapsulate what we had talked about last time about, we're paying for someone to be there, whether it's the project actually comes to fruition or not, someone has to be there to answer questions for walk-ins for the community.
Yeah.
So if you don't like the community support language, that can go, but I thought we needed to at least add it to this list of action items or functions that the staff provides in order to be able to, at the end of the exhibits, collect those funds, because my thought was, as an auditor, we don't have it in here as part of your duties, so how can you collect on money later?
Okay.
So that's my
Yeah, that works.
thought process.
Is it implied that it's business hours? Like, does that mean that we shouldn't have someone there Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay.
I would just say, no, we can do that
No, absolutely not.
on a weekly or
Like business hours.
business day basis.
That,
Oh, gosh, I won't think anyone working Saturday
I'm
or Sunday,
paranoid,
but you know
paranoid.
what? That is, I never would have thought of that.
Still be like, where are you?
Sunday.
That would be my luck.
Honestly, some people might do that.
Yeah,
So maybe we do want to put on
Monday through Saturday.
normal business hours. Instead of daily basis,
Yep.
be available normal business hours for community support.
this is that whole trust thing you were talking to me about earlier.
That makes sense.
Zero trust.
Yep, no, that's a good, I didn't even think of that, but people are crazy, so that's a good thing. Okay. Well, I mean, an auditor could say that too, like, well, where are you on Saturday and Sunday, who's staffing the office?
I know,
It
but I'm
says
getting into
daily.
what the standard business day.
I was gonna ask the
Oh,
same.
man.
Is it 9 o'clock?
Oh,
Like, what is it, guys?
I will be there once in a
How
while.
about okay, 40 hours a week?
Yeah.
Do that, like, is that?
Our normal
just
side.
norm-
This
normal?
is gonna be on the federal holiday.
Yeah, you're just having like 5 hours.
And then there's also state
Oh, sorry.
holiday. Yeah, I felt like I could.
Oh, you're right.
We didn't go there.
We will be reasonably available. Oh, why did
Which I find reasonable.
I know, it's that federal.
Wow, it is. So exciting. It's like, like.
And then is it bank hours? 'Cause
What about
those are different. Yeah.
Come on, at this point, if somebody's going through that much trouble, like, what are they trying to accomplish, right?
They're just costing money and being a jerk, and there's a lot of those. I know a lot of those.
Do you guys have typical hours, like that on the website, you would say these are the days and hours we're open? 9 to 4.
Okay.
I would be.
During the IPA, just.
Yeah, yeah, that way you
Yeah.
during posted business hours.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Posted. Because that way, obviously, if you're closed for Christmas. Right. Or New Year's. Okay, they can't expect you. That's good, no, that's a good picture. I never would have thought of that. But you're right. But then no one can work on Saturday, okay?
And it's legal and binding.
5:22 in the morning.
Yeah, right?
So we're at 5:22 in the
Brittany
morning.
Davis.
Wait, what?
5:22 AM.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Wow.
That's 5:22.
The time
Promise, because I wasn't working on that at 8:50 today. Yeah, no, I think it's
Yeah.
6 AM.
That's so much better.
Yeah, I don't know time zone.
Any other changes to this that we need to talk about?
There was one more change I made down on the exhibit to include basically the lost time.
I saw it.
Projects that- oh, right. And
Oh,
other,
before everybody's.
Oh, scroll down.
and then I thought, well, I wrote no reason for abandonment, but now I'm thinking, what if we just abandon them and then have all these projects that we just never do, but we do for.
Well, which is the reason for it being quarterly, right, rather than a year, like, and the chances of that happening, if it's for one off, we can reconcile that.
Right.
But I see your point, I don't see it happening that often.
Mhm.
Like, and even if whatever mechanism could be employed.
Right, I
That's
thought
risk
that,
to take.
yeah, so like AMF, that project. Built for, like that,
Yeah,
unless
that
you
was-
wanna change that language, cause we didn't cause the abandonment.
Right.
Like they were like, we're gonna go elsewhere.
Do we need to vote, go to approve this motion? Or?
Do you wanna look at the dollar amounts?
I do.
So,
I did.
so exhibit, yeah, this one we talked about last time, this
Yeah.
is the 90% of IDA admin fees. Exhibit C, Trish and I calculated. This is all of the other things outside of projects. That are completed at IDA and pre-project planning. Scroll down here. Project pipeline development. So through calculations of Trish's time, my time, Shai's time, Kaylee's time, relating to IDA project pipeline. It came out to 100,000. And then exhibit B is. Just scroll down, Kaylee. 10,000, for. These are two projects. Harrisville Bank and what was the second one? Natural Gas Building. Do we want to include that same recapture reconciliation verbiage in here in case there's others, yeah, projects?
It still ends up short of the original number, right, yeah,
But
but way closer than, yeah.
Well, which that original number gets more than recaptured over the course of all the.
Right,
It's just this squeeze at the front end.
But it's a lot less based on these calculations than just the 167, which is essentially cutting it.
Right.
So, very good.
But this was a good exercise because we realized we were missing a lot.
Oh, yeah, no doubt,
Work.
yeah.
Yeah, we were only really charging for
Just the,
pilots that landed.
right.
Any questions? Any other questions on this?
Do we need to approve?
Yes.
We do. Anyone want to make a motion? Jerry? Yes. All in favor? I think we get it. Just assume. All right.
So finance committee notes.
So we did have a finance committee. Doug and Joe were both there, in addition to Brittany and I. To review the Black River Valley Natural deferment as well as the Snow Ridge installment sale for another rumor. Those were the main priorities for the meeting. The Snow Ridge installment sale is on the docket for approval today. It's $155,000 2019 used piston bully. Very similar to the one that we already held an installment sale on, and we kind of floated this idea to the board last month or the month before. They plan on trading in one of their very used groomers to get the price down to 125. And we can finance that, we can purchase that, finance it over 10 years with 5% interest back to them. So they're ready to go. I think the paperwork will be super easy because it's like a copy and paste. So Candace said we have that done tomorrow.
That's exciting.
We're gonna sign it at 5 to get to the next thing. So that was one of the main topics you heard all about, James. We did talk a little bit about MPI, that's McBrasky Packaging, or Packaging International. Who's still going through his site plan process next week. He's got another meeting to hopefully get an approval. If anybody wants to show support for that project to the town of Lionsdale, that would be much appreciated.
Can you do that again?
It's the Tuesday.
Okay, I thought so.
What time?
6:30. It's the regular board meeting. Right?
Yep.
They held a I'm trying to follow their process. They held a public hearing for their site plan last month. Which there was a lot of support that came out. But again, I don't think the big town in general, since.
Why don't they one person in support of it, quite honestly, and they're leading the town.
Yeah.
So I talked to the county manager and I talked to Cassie Buell about it as well. And then, for the most part, unless something else happens, I plan on going to that meeting, to check when it was. To just. You know. Let them know. That if they don't do what's required by law, they're, you know, they're, I think, going outside the bounds of what the law is, that they're gonna be subject to a lawsuit.
Yeah, you talked to Tim Hunt,
Yeah,
because he might mention, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know that I would beat Mr. Bush, you're gonna get sued.
yeah.
You tell him that if you all go to the top.
And I'm trying to get hold of Jim Burrows and it's,
And you'll get sued by the IDA in the county.
right, we're all gonna sue you, you know what it is. So you may as well just not spend the tiny amount of money that your town has and just let this happen and use money for your town instead of spending it. And in the nicest way possible.
You'll do it in this life.
Tim had reached out to me, I don't know if he talked to you about it too. Basically, I think he was just asking from a legal standpoint, it's like they're gonna be subject to an Article 78 that they're gonna have to.
Yeah,
As long as we're confident that that we will win that, we'll just sue them when we need to.
Well, they're the ones that
Who are we?
we would just be the
all their
ones
fault.
maybe helping them financially with it, but they have to sue, we can't sue that.
Right, he would, Rez,
Right, yeah.
Rez would have to bring the suit because he would be the one that would have standing. Because he's the one who's being, you know, harmed by the project. And then the other part I kind of explored a little bit with Tim as well was that, you know, we, the IDA, obviously we sold that project or property to him with that in mind. Maybe there's something that this board can do prior to the sales happening. Where the town board is approached like, hey, this is gonna be sold for this. And kind of get, not like a pre-approval, but kind of a general feel, so someone doesn't buy a property for a whole bunch of money. And then they can't use it.
They were involved in the process.
Yeah.
The town was involved.
And then they're just
I guess you could make the purchase offer contingent upon,
zoning approval.
yeah.
Or
Which
board
that's
approval.
gonna
I mean,
slow it
if
down
it's
for
every
us,
town.
but it would slow things down a lot, but that's the only way you really probably could do it, so just have a contingent on it.
I don't think anyone thought that we would be in this position.
Is that basically what they're saying? They're just holding it up and saying it's not zoned for that?
No, they're not saying it's not zone for it, they're saying that they don't think they want it. For a question mark reason. I mean, we have millers, you have red farming meats, I mean, we have other plants like this in the county. So I don't think they have any valid reason. Their law allows for it, the county has, you know, he's met all the conditions that they've put in place. He's already spent, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, not even on the purchase of the property. So to get everything that they asked for, which some are extreme, he's jumped all the suits and then they're gonna turn around and say no. And it feels a little discriminatory on its face. So, is it a planning board it's a town board, I don't think that would really work.
Oh, okay, but that idea though,
So from an IDA perspective, obviously, we did sell him the property. But 2 years ago, it's over 2 years old, I think now. We approved, or we're in the process of approving the sales tax exemption for the project. And I think I've asked him that when he has his site approval, that we update that application with current costs. And that this board would be open to considering all incentives. So we discussed that a little bit more, I'll leave it at that for this meeting. We did discuss the Naturally Lewis office building as well. The IDA did submit an application for the vacant property revitalization program, which lives under the LCDC. If you remember, if you follow that money trail all the way back, that's federal ARPA money. We discussed it at the finance committee a little bit because we wanted to think about the optics of that, because most people won't follow that money trail back, and with the current climate and scrutiny Naturally Lewis is under, we wanted to discuss that a little bit. The IDA did keep the application in for this round, and that application will likely be tabled until the next round. Any questions on finance committee? Okay. That said, there were those 2 items that were discussed that are up for approval. The first being the Snow Ridge Resort installments, you know. This is our latest like happy baby that we use. Terms and conditions to help alleviate any misunderstanding. Make it very, very clear, post application, even though all the stuff is spelled out in the application for the most part, exactly what we're discussing with a potential client. So these are all the terms and conditions. We make the fees very clear, on that document. And that's what we would ask the IDA to approve.
John, I have a question. Who, so we do an installment sale, we own the equipment.
Yeah.
And we had talked about in the finance committee how having life insurance on loans makes sense because we have the equipment. But let's say if somebody's paid 5 years into this loan and then they pass away, the business owner. What happens to the equity that they've bought into that equipment?
This says no.
What do you mean? What's gone?
Yeah, they're also using it, right?
Well, that can't be the same.
You're like renting. You know, like.
So that's what essentially it is, you're saying it's just a rent thing.
Right, it's like the
You still own
use,
it. But
yeah,
it's not a sale then.
no, it's an installment
Yeah.
sale, so like you're buying it a little bit at a time,
Right,
like your house.
right, but that builds equity.
Mhm.
It's not a renting, so if that person
You
passes
are
away.
right, there are some circumstances where they could actually, it's gonna depend what the rental value is versus what you're paying.
Agreed, so there'd be a discrepancy and there's still equity built up, and if that
They-
person now says, that this person's gone. Successor says, I need the equity from that, we have to now go sell this thing and give them the money.
They potentially could bring a lawsuit
Right.
over it, I've never seen with that, but I've seen them throw property, when they do
Just
the.
curious,
So, yeah, in theory, they could,
so right,
they have to figure out what's the rental value versus what are they actually paying each month, and are you trying to hide a purchase as well.
again, so
Yes,
I
potentially.
bring again that if the business owners have life insurance, which everybody does. To make us a little bit owner of that to cover that backup. Like if you have $1 million policy, you could make us ideate a 10% beneficiary. You get it, it's all tax free, you pay it back, call it a day. Just food for thought, again, I don't see this being a giant issue, but I don't know. Right, this is a 10-year loan, things happen. And then it forces us to be in a position where we have to sell this equipment or make them whole before we sell this equipment. Right, just from a legal standpoint.
Usually there's a level, so I don't know if 125,000 would be that level, but yes, usually if you have a pretty high purchase price, life insurance does kind of get tied to that, so you are right.
Well, and even when trying to help James, that should be, and I bet he has it, it's not making people buy anything. They usually have it, but if they don't, it's dirt cheap, talking $20 a month, like $500,000, so it's not much at all, so food for thought, but yeah.
Can you remind me the terms and conditions? Called the Cliff Notes version, do they sign that and us?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a wrapper. Yeah. Okay, I know we talked about it, I just was trying to refresh.
We have to get a motion, Jerry, sorry, Herb. All here.
And then the Black River Valley Naturals installment sale deferral, it's $233 a month.
We just give them a year, I'll make them, can I make that motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to give it a year.
To the end of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2025, yeah. That's-
Another comment on that, like, he was looking, obviously, he's gonna apply for the $50,000 loan to consolidate his, loans, but, which will save him a bunch, but the reason I asked him about the equipment that will help improve his efficiency and in turn help improve cash flow. Would the board be interested in approving that he did find a piece of equipment to do buy another piece of equipment and do an installment sale agreement with that, but defer that until he starts really rolling?
I would,
I've written that down.
Yeah.
We could purchase the filler with a deferment.
Right.
period,
Yeah,
Just like we did with
to help
salaries,
get back on his feet and.
to improve efficiencies and.
that 50 alone is a third of his debt payment, that gone.
Right.
Right, not gone, but you know, like,
Right.
he's not to come up with, so, yeah,
Right, and that's kind of what I
And then-
challenged him with, is
Yeah.
because
I know you said that,
some of his current equipment is already leveraged,
yeah,
so. He needs,
that would create cash flow, yeah.
yeah, he needs to figure out what's not leveraged that we could possibly purchase, or is it something?
I wanted to ask him, and I don't know. If staff is in the report, I mean, his opening line was, you know, we could close today, I mean, you know. Is it that urgent, and then that's goes to the $50,000 loan, I mean. If it were me and it was that urgent, I would have the LCDC board discuss it today. But I don't know if he was just being dramatic, I don't.
I think he has to have in-person signatures before he can move forward to. Get any more debt.
Well, I think that's where it's coming from, is that the debt is accruing to a point where it's just not right.
No, I don't, I mean, his urgency that I'm just gonna close down operations, is he close to that?
I hope not, because that makes me nervous.
Right.
Right,
Because
Yeah,
I
and
want
he's
it to
really
be
incurring more than that,
close.
I mean, it's not worth our time to talk if he's gonna close next week.
I mean, he's certainly struggling. And. He's been struggling for a while, and through the years in different ways. So I think there is some urgency, but again,
Oh, he did secure the 100,000.
Yes.
Well, I emailed the NCAA team, that it sounds messy, and I'll forward you their.
It's been messy, I said on NCAA board too, it's been messy for the year, because it was originally for. The school milk bottling equipment, so it's had to be reconfigured a variety of times.
It's a signature on the Beller's part, and I mean, I just asked James, are you gonna get that done? He said, yeah, I think I can, but it's gotta get done, and it hasn't been done for a year, so.
Right, so the urgency ebbs and flows. We've been encouraging James to apply for a loan for each time he calls us in an urgent state. He knows it takes a couple months to get that to go through. So that's kind of where we were at when we talked to Brittany, and then I talked to him, is get the applications in, so that at least we have these things approved, so that if we need to pull the trigger out, we can.
so with the LCDC loan, we will have the loan committee review and we will have a February board meeting specifically for that.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Let's just get it done.
Yeah, like what's the delay in this case, like why, like for somebody who seems very. Attuned to his business and everything, why not create that? Backup to be able to do it right away, right?
He's not on the number of the LLCs.
Oh, that's here, the farm. Who's that, is there more than, like how many people have
Members,
Okay.
the only one.
And if we're doing,
Oh, okay.
LCDC's doing, it,
Okay.
we're
They're
probably gonna
partners, they're
consider
partners, business partners,
partners and
okay,
assets and.
right,
That was one of the payments that you make.
okay. I got it, is that the retail payments? Is that what those are on your sheets? No, that's actually on it, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a.
I took it out, so I kept mine.
That's probably why
I mean,
warrants having official.
I mean, obviously, I want to see him be successful at it.
We need to stick with our process. Just
Seems
throwing that out
to be
there.
big quite the whole. And that's,
Well,
you know,
but I get that, like, what choice do we have?
right,
But if
I mean,
it
we're
only
already-
needs deferment, right, so that's the least we can do to help out, and what's that, $2,000 a year, $2,200? Whether he fails today or tomorrow, if we, I think if we approve that, fine, I don't think it's a big help, I agree.
We don't have any lien still on the Lions Hall building. So if they go out of business, it just gets messy, right? We have a building in Mike's Falls with some
Right.
equipment in it and the other land in Sylvania.
Right.
We just,
It's like $2,800 for the year.
Right, there's just nothing to us for that matter, for helping, whatever help that is, but there needs to, he needs to understand there's a bigger. He needs to ask for a bigger help, which we're happy to do.
Yeah.
Because I,
right, and blanking on this spouse's name,
Bethany?
Bethany, sorry. And I don't know if the rest of you follow, I mean, they're both working full time, I think, you know, they have gone above and beyond. And doing everything they can, and I think they're probably both well-paid people, so that, you know, for them to be struggling, it's just like, they're just in a tough spot.
So would this board be open to the filler installment sale or the deferment?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do
Good.
that.
Could we ask them for like a projection of how much that's gonna increase cash flow?
Yeah. Did we make a motion on the deferment?
I will make the motion for the end of the year, for Jerry's suggestion, like for all of 2025. Second, Jerry seconds, all in favor? Alright.
So could I have that in, or initial agreement, so I can do that?
And on the filler, you know, like you said, we did have estimates for granules. And, you know, used one accepts the price. I feel like sometimes it's better to buy brand new than used, especially with something like that, so.
Right. Yeah.
And if we were going to do that, and we were gonna do the payments and installment.
Yeah.
I think we go brand new.
Question from legislative perspective. The LCDC board meeting, we are creating the business retention fund. Out of the preventative vacant property funds and community economic development funds. Do you see this, a situation like this qualifying?
Absolutely.
You already said that hold potentially jobs. Well, the debt restructuring, we thought would hold 5, not create anything, but be able to retain 5 with us. So, yeah, I think that.
What's this total number of employees?
He's, yeah, 4 or 5 right now.
5 full-time equivalent right now.
So it's not just 5 employees, it's keeping the direction closing.
Right.
So something else I was thinking, I mean, it could just be a suggestion, or maybe he's already looked into it, but he was talking about, you know, driving 1,000 miles or a couple thousand miles a week. Is there an opportunity for collaboration there with?
That's what the food hub was doing, and he's worked with other food hubs around in North Country. It's just, it's not a sustainable business model. We don't know. And yeah, the North Country is just a large, no matter who's driving. There's a food hub here, there's a food hub in Essex County, and to get them to work together, it's still a lot of miles.
But if we as a community were actually committed to investing in dairy processing, and there was more of it, that would probably be more attainable.
He has a business consultant and marketing people, right, that he works with. It's sort of, and he's got, I'm not familiar with his products yet all the way, like, is there a couple of things that he does, yogurt, you know, all that stuff, right? Like, I wonder if he's considered like we get HelloFresh boxes, right? The shipping, I mean, that, at that level of great food, I wonder if a subscription service has been suggested to him of a box a month that can go out, or however big long people want it. It's shipping costs included, it's very economical.
I get 1 week.
Yeah, exactly, so do we, yeah,
And does he like park it, like, I think like the Amazon and things like that?
yeah.
I think there's huge.
But subscription services, like, services, the recurring revenue that you can count on.
I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
He-
Okay,
It's just the issue is that he has been so focused on the local market.
Yeah, I know.
Let's try to make this work
I get it,
here,
I get it.
and it's not working.
Right, right,
Because
because,
people are still going to Walmart,
right,
or
okay,
I would love to buy beer beyond milk on a Sunday, but I can't because it's only in the local stores that are closed
Yeah.
on a Sunday. So he can go to the Syracuse market on Saturday and sell a gallon of milk for $9.
Right.
And they pay that no
yeah,
problem.
I know.
So, yeah, the subscription, like, that's not.
That's more retail
Yeah,
than it is, so they're pivoting to B2B.
Business to business, I get it,
Which is all.
I get it. But then this, but this is a different consumer, like you don't have to go to stores and stuff, like. I don't know, I wonder if it's considered, I'll have to ask him about it, but it's a good model, because if we got a box every 2 weeks of this fresh stuff. We would pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking, as you were talking, I was like, wait, we should just get stuff, I wish I could just get it all at one time, right?
You're just, that's what I had, yeah, just put it outside your door. I said,
Bring
back the milk.
I know.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
How many times have to go to the store and now?
We want James to deliver.
I want
Perfect.
Yes, right.
So next is what, the idea report?
I need a report.
All right, great.
All right, few things to report on, just wanna highlight IDA legislation. So I sent to all that the law to require a school board member and a labor rep. IDA board was vetoed by the governor, thank goodness. However, there was a new law that was passed where IDAs have to now somehow incorporate the creation of evaluating whether or not a project is creating childcare
Childcare?
with their project. That's an evaluation criteria in how we provide incentives.
But not a disqualification, right?
Right.
It's just, okay.
Right, so we are awaiting guidance from the EDC and our attorneys on like where do we put this? Is it in the project evaluation policy? Is it in our UTEP? Is it just in that application? So basically, if you have a manufacturer who wants to expand, we could provide them with a better incentive if they're also creating childcare.
But how
Which
it's just do that.
does not make any
Right.
sense, in my opinion. This is a very siloed approach to a law that if they were thinking about the childcare regulations and the costs of childcare, it probably wouldn't be. But it's just another. They want more childcare in New York State, and so they're trying to get IDAs to incentivize.
So like you would be like, okay, if you're gonna put in this new thing and we're gonna help you, you would have like a daycare facility inside the.
We'll give you a better incentive.
Okay, I was like, how
Doesn't
does this look? Like, what do you do?
This works for Micron.
Right,
This
exactly.
works
Exactly,
for large
Right.
manufacturers who can afford a daycare facility on site and.
You know, he can't even afford it.
I know,
The amount I pay in tuition doesn't even cover my daughter's costs.
I know.
It's just.
and the childcare model is family business model until the state starts to subsidize daycares, like, it's just not. A sustainable model, so. We will have to put that in one of our policies, just to ensure where it goes.
Did they specify how big the, or how different the incentive is? What the incentive is?
It's just, we are considering it in what we, in projects that we review.
Okay, how short-sighted?
Mhm.
Okay.
Has there been any state legislation where they have thought about subsidizing?
I think they're talking about it, but. That's like, that gets into like department of stuff, right? I know.
Windmills, no childcare use.
Like, I'm just.
Or we're at the base of each
do,
one
I'm
now.
Yeah, that's a little garden. Kids.
What? Swing on the.
Yeah, it's just like.
This is when you have people who don't practice of making these.
There's nobody injecting.
Looking at it from a very urban lens.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
they're not here.
so when we're evaluating. McBride's packing order.
Yeah.
But what should we here?
Is it by the sharp plane? Or the styrofoam and plastic wrap?
The children's video for the chickens.
Yeah. Before they're murdered. Like,
Go ahead. No, it's all right.
Or New York State farm.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Speaking of Dave, we have not yet received our comptroller's report yet. I think that we should be getting it soon, but. Just waiting for that to come out. We're working on our upcoming 2025-26 IDA budget. We will have a draft budget to present at our finance committee this month, and we will need to approve that budget at our next board meeting in February. And then I do just want to note that I did look into attorney fees with Jefferson County. They use Harris Beach. These are very similar, if not more, than option costs. So I just don't think there's any way out of the high attorney fees when it comes to incentives. We just need to, again, use the terms and conditions, be very upfront with what those fees are for the applicant and if it's worth it for them.
We can't control it, we need transparent about it.
Right, so it's, I mean, our offset mechanism is just to consider giving more aggressive pilots to offset the legal.
Right, we should extend.
Depending if we can make a cost benefit analysis run for it, like. It hurts the tax base, obviously, but if we can legitimize it by creation of jobs and all the other things,
We
then.
need the local attorneys to start specializing in this, so it's not so.
No, I have to specialize and I'm charging what they charge. It gets paid.
Like the ideas are all using the
Yeah.
same large.
They created like
firms.
a monopoly.
They have. Well, in the state, like creates it as well, like these attorneys can charge. Because they just keep putting so much regulation with public authorities.
And I go back to, we need to recognize that we are, I mean, besides the wind projects, the solar projects, we are an anomaly. We're a leader in rural economic development, so the fact that we're wanting to incentivize a small guy like Red Barn needs is not what New York State and old school economic development would tell you to do. So that's why we get ourselves in these places of tension, is because we're trying to do grassroots economic development.
I want to ask, in the community from everybody like that, as I was thinking about last month, like. I'm driving to the village of Cicero and all these cute little shops, and I go, what sustains these places? It's housing. The ability for people to live close by and to say, so as an IDA, what is it that we could do? Is there anything we could do to have housing? Could we build housing and rent it out?
We can technically,
Technically, and incentivize housing,
We can't?
technically,
Oh, what was that?
IDAs do.
the law says that the law doesn't include housing in what we can incentivize. However, all of the IDA attorneys will say you can incentivize housing, and IDAs are incentivizing. So
So it's finding the people to do it.
if Glenfield, the developers for the Glenfield school receive their state funding, they will be coming to us with a pilot incentive. That'll be a deviation incentive, deviation pilot. Which we can do.
Like even Loudville, right, our school is like, what a wonderful place in every regard to raise a family. Yeah, can we build a house? And then
I don't know if we wanna build housing, we wanna find,
somebody.
we wanna empower people to build housing that we can then provide programs and incentives and funding for.
Okay, why would we not want to build a house? So for example, the idea, I'm sorry,
Landlord tenant law, so that's the big issue in you know, Lewis County is that a lot of people have stopped renting since COVID because of all of the new laws that have rolled out that are more favorable to tenants. So I don't wanna be a landlord, it's gonna cost me, you know, $5,000 to get you out. And then you've made $10,000 worth of damages. I'll eat it and I'll let it sit vacant, because I don't wanna deal with
What if we,
removing you.
what if we build it and sell?
So like more developers,
Okay.
like more developers, you mean we build
Like,
and
yeah,
sell?
what if we build housing and then sell it to military families or whoever, right? And just to have enough consumers to support further businesses and enrichment of the town. Like, just throwing, I'm just asking, I don't know.
The cost of build right now is,
Guy's name that spoke at the Natural Resources Conference 2 years ago, just before we got the letter from ABO.
that was IDA Academy. Jack.
Oh, I get the IDA Academy, you mean?
No, it was at the conference. Wasn't he head of the director of the ABO?
That was the IDA
And
Academy.
that's all he talked about was
EDC,
build
right,
housing.
right, and then the EDC, who was hosting that event here, was super upset with how he went on this spiel,
Yeah, the
with all the
whole
attorneys in
speech
the
was-
room, or like. Ideas are incentivizing. Yeah, there's a battle with the APO right now.
Well, I think building it ground up and incentivizing it are two different things.
Yes.
Obviously.
And we do really have to look at like what, as an IDA, per New York State law, what were IDAs created to do? It was to incentivize other people to do the
Yeah,
same.
it's just, yeah, I don't disagree with you, it's just, I look at the times of it all and go, it's so difficult. And as our population ages, I think we're going to end up in a difficult spot with. And if we don't address that with newer, younger families, there's only one way it's gonna go.
So, back in the day, like, so craft built a lot and then sold off, like the big mills used to build
Yeah,
and then sell
of
to their
course.
employees, right?
Yeah.
What do we have
I
that's
know.
doing that?
I know, which is why I
Are
brought
we
that, I
happy?
don't know.
Maybe?
I don't know the answer, but that is the fundamental families, younger families who wanna live, build and play here, right? And all that stuff, where are we gonna get those?
I will say Hamilton County IDA, they did a project where they actually purchased like 8 tiny homes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're selling them or leasing them
Yeah.
to their workforce housing.
Yes.
So, and I was like, how are you doing that? But they figured it out. So there is an
Yeah.
example. I can look into
Please
what
do.
other IDAs are doing outside of different.
Yeah. I think it's worth it, again, I see a longer, in my job, I project 35 years into the future. So as I look at that, I go, this is not going to be sustainable. I think the next decade itself is going to be very difficult. As the boomers age out completely, pass on, so, yeah.
And I will say, as a county, the housing conversation is like, what, 3 years old now?
Yeah.
The housing conversation's like 3 years old, outside of.
I don't know that, yeah, well, it's just occurred to me, right, I'm like, yeah, it's like.
And the county did the housing study a couple of years back, which said that we need to focus on senior living and the dwelling, the ADUs, apartment dwelling units, what they're called, ADUs?
Oh, like.
Accessory
Accessory dwelling.
dwelling units. So for the Greenfield project, that developer was focused on senior living, it has since shifted due to funding from the state.
Hasn't been closed yet.
And they haven't received funding yet, and they're closed on the sale of that building.
It's always been a contingency, so.
Offer, catering to senior, their services is going to be patient food, you name it, it's going to be needed, but if it isn't, they will be moved out of here, like in.
And so nice conference last year, it's really eye opening for the aging population, it's more beneficial economically to keep them in their homes.
Of course.
And you know, if they spend money, they're a huge part of our economy.
Right.
So yeah, that's a huge
Oh, it said, they said keep seniors in their homes?
Well, that's why New York State rolled out Medicaid will pay for your health caregiver if they're in your house, so like a family member could qualify, then Medicaid pays for them to keep you in your house to provide care. They did change the rollback from 0 look back to 2.5-year look back.
That's contradictory to our study that says build senior living so that it frees up the homes for the young families. That was the intent.
No, so this is, I think she started off from an in-home care perspective, like
Yeah,
to provide rather than ending up.
Right,
in a
you
home
could
care.
talk about nursing, right, we're more, I'm talking about more shipping people like out of county because we don't have a lot of beds, right?
Right,
So people are leaving here to go to Boonville or they go to Syracuse.
right,
So we wanna keep them
that's
here.
correct, yes, yeah.
To stay in the community, which is, I think, maybe the same.
Yeah.
But a senior living place, would keep them here and create the housing for the younger generation, right? So that, yeah, like what's that place?
Brookside.
Yes.
Brookside.
Okay, what about
Which,
We'll see if I can find.
They're
this
having
last
issues
year.
with the pilot, their pilot.
it is evident that we have, otherwise it doesn't work. We don't have an influx of families coming in at the level that they're going at.
Right.
It's a lot of support infrastructure.
What would be ideal is, I mean, Brookside has their church-based community.
Yeah.
They could do another one, especially since that generation is very church-based, they could do
A what one?
a Catholic one. Or something like that, where a lot of like, my grandmother will go to Brookside, but she would go to another one.
Oh, I didn't even know it was
So
associated,
frustrating.
they're like a religious thing, oh.
It doesn't have to be,
But they don't like-
but they scale like
Oh,
that,
okay.
it's.
Well, so
pretty
who
cool.
owns Brookside? Like a,
It's like a,
or like
it's an
a,
organization.
corporation, oh, okay.
It's associated with that religion.
Well, which is fine, whatever.
Yeah, and it's great, it's perfect.
It's not like that.
No, it's not like that, anyone can go in there,
Oh,
but like my
that was-
grandmother,
okay.
That generation, that's not.
it's just ridiculous, that's all she sees it
Ah,
as.
right, doesn't matter.
Terrible, I was thinking, yeah.
I think that's generational because that's the perception.
Yeah.
And they really
Like, and I think now our generation doesn't even know that that's how it started.
Yeah, exactly, unless you're.
Whereas we know.
So, yeah, and they're like half past.
Okay.
But what are the services around here, like, so like.
Hospital.
Or
Yeah.
even like grocery stores,
Yeah, right,
like,
One
there's no
liquor.
like real infrastructure out there.
Yeah,
Well, Brookside, they're staying in their.
what are we,
They're
are
just
we able to
having-
reach out to this organization and see if they can create, like, do they have, looking at demographic data and the population the need rising, you would think they would do that on their own, but,
well, they want,
Brookside?
yeah.
they want to build on,
So the town had to do some infrastructure upgrade to a lift station for the septic, I think. down
Okay.
there, 2 years ago,
Yeah,
and in doing that, they made Brookside sign an agreement saying that they wouldn't build on. Seems a little bit contradictory to economic development,
well, why would they do that?
because they don't want to upgrade
Yeah.
infrastructure.
That
Well,
goes
that's
hand in hand, that's what creates jobs and.
And Brookside has a waiting list,
I know.
3 years long,
There's a lot of room down
there's
there,
obviously need.
but
There's no incentive to move forward because the town is also not agreeing to extend the pilot agreement. And I've been at that for almost 2 years now, and I can't even give a response.
And by town, I mean, town board,
Town,
it's not a lot.
who's, how many people on this board?
No, when I was Judy Ross, I was,
I mean, I don't deal with them, I have to go to the attorney, right? Their response. I don't think, well, there's currently also no incentive for them to move forward, right, because they're telling it behind. I was like, well, no one will live there and it will go belly up,
That's
because
correct.
what you're asking is to pay taxes for absolutely ridiculous. So. But they're in no hurry, because I think there's 2 years now left on their pilot. But obviously, waiting until the last day is not a good idea, so I mean, like I said, I've been at it for 2 years, and no response. But why would they build on? And then they can't build on, like, all these things are kind of happening behind, not behind closed doors specifically, but like. It appears that way because it's not, and, you know, no one's been writing an article about
But it's not gonna show up on your license.
Yeah, it's
Right,
it's
I happen to know because I was at a meeting,
It's
trying to
something
another
automatic
project,
that-
they also talking about. No, I just happened to be at the meeting.
I'm a little bit, it was in the town, like, I have no idea.
You can look
It's
it up
very
online.
frustrating.
Is, Bob Mullen on the town board?
Circle, you should.
The town of Belleville board.
He's my neighbor.
Jacob Mullen, Stephen Farney, J.D. Ross, and Paul Burke.
And Bob Mullins. So we have less than 1 minute.
Okay, do we need to do anything about these, or is there more?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm waiting to get the LOI back, they wanted to do their own,
what?
the letter of intent.
So
So I
she
sent
was,
them over our conditions
okay,
and they will send it back in whatever format they want, and then we can change it. Just because. Yep.
I'm very confused, because she said there wasn't something, there was a thing. Thank you for explaining this.
How do you
Happily.
walk through with the bank? Oh, sorry, I didn't make it.
Yeah, it's fine, it's small.
Small. Smaller than the other ones.
Yeah.
And we would have to deal with all the stuff in it, so like all the pictures, like so the huge bank counter and all of that was stacked. Involved.
My wife beat her to the wall.
Do you like a Christmas?
She's like, are you crazy? I'm like, it would be amazing. She goes, no, it would not. We're not getting a vault. All right, honey, stay married. All right, what else?
The last thing I just included on the agenda is the naturally list, strategic plan.
Came out real nice.
Basically just informative for you all. So this is the direction of Naturally Lewis. Obviously, the IDA has their own mission, own keyword, but it really fits under the building our community strategic pillar. Under developing businesses, properties. Yeah, so just informational for you all. Do you have any questions on that one?
Does any of this need to be approved? No, all set? Anybody else, anything?
I will just let the board know, in case you're really excited about it. I'm holding a meeting with all of the affected taxing jurisdictions or potentially affected by the AES Sugar Maple project. That's in house Brogan and Wilmot. On Tuesday at 11 o'clock in this room. So if anybody wants to be there, we're just gonna talk through with everybody who could be affected by taxing things, which includes Jefferson County. Just what an IDA pilot could look like versus what the company has offered in other places, and just kind of getting everybody talking about it so that we're not behind the ball to apply. And they have done their ORAS filing, so they intend to move forward, it's fine, use a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn, it'll be her.
Someone.
Second, all right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Huh? Oh, and I'll.
Bye.